Hi there! In this video, inshallah, by the will of Allah, I will try my best to point out Quranic verses that contained scientific signs, S-I-G-N-S, and that is brief clues placed by Allah, not the kind of step-by-step explanations you would find in a modern science textbook, obviously. By scientific signs, I mean clear statements revealed more than 1400 years ago that modern research has only recently verified. A man who could neither read nor write, he was an illiterate Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, who received the revelation of Qur'an from Allah. He used to live in the deserts of 7th century Arabia, had no libraries, microscopes, or laboratories. Yet the Qur'an that he delivered contains facts no one of his time could have even imagined. And while I have to emphasize that the purpose of this presentation is first of all to open the eyes of those who doubt, showing that the Qur'an is truly the word of Allah. Secondly, to demonstrate that these verses are signposts guiding us to faith, not a collection of laboratory data. And thirdly, to remind us that the field of science keeps changing. New theories rise and fall, whereas revelation is perfect and timeless. And please note that I am not in any way pitting the Qur'an against science. The Qur'an stands far above any human discipline. Science merely catches up when it confirms a Qur'anic statement. Okay? And I'm also not boasting nor claiming that every verse must match a modern theory before we believe in it. Rather, these signs are Allah's mercy to truth seekers. The scientific references I'll highlight are simply extra signs from Allah, gifts that help sincere people recognize the Qur'an's divine origin. Some people treat science as the ultimate authority, celebrating every new headline about evolution, cosmic expansion, and so on, while dismissing revelation as bogus. This video is a gentle reminder that the Qur'an has already addressed realities that science is only beginning to grasp. Whether anyone accepts these signs or not, the truth of the Qur'an remains unchanged. Only the individual who rejects is in loss. He will be in eternal blaze if he dies in that state. It doesn't change reality at all. So I'll try my best to pause occasionally and add short commentaries whenever I feel is appropriate so that you can reflect more deeply on each sign.
The Qur'an is a book made up of chapters that are made up of verses. Chapters range in size from hundreds of verses down to just 3. In this episode, I aim to put into perspective just how much attention the Qur'an is given worldwide. As you may know, one of the obligations of a Muslim is to pray 5 times a day. Every prayer is split into units, and the 5 daily prayers make up a total of 17 units. In each unit, the Muslim must recite chapter 1 of the Qur'an, or else the prayer is not valid. This makes it a requirement for every Muslim to have memorized chapter 1 of the Qur'an. Since there are about 2 billion Muslims worldwide, just from the 5 daily prayers, this chapter is recited 34 billion times every single day. In 10 of these 17 units, Muslims also recite another part of the Qur'an of their choice. Doing the maths, this means that other verses are recited an additional 20 billion times around the world every single day just from the 5 daily prayers. A relationship with the Qur'an is a major part of being a Muslim. Whether Arabic speaking or not, every single Muslim has some verses stored in memory.
Look around this room right here. Now, I don't know most of these people. Some of them know me from TV or something like that, but they don't really know me. But If I open this book on any page and I start quoting out of this thing, believe it or not, they will know if I'm making mistakes. This is the first page. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Next words. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. I'm going to go to the back. Qul huwa Allah. Allah. Lam. Wa lam. How about the middle? Inadina. How about that? That's chapter 3, verse 19, by the way. Kuntin khayra ummatin.
Ever since the Qur'an was revealed 1,400 years ago, not even a letter has changed. Generation after generation, the Qur'an has been preserved and passed down in human memory and written form. This makes the Qur'an incredibly unique and unlike any other book. No other book has been preserved through memory over many generations. And what's amazing is that Allah said this would happen from day one in chapter 15, verse 9. Inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra wa inna lahu lahafidhun. Indeed, it is we who sent down the Qur'an, and indeed we will guard it from corruption. There has not been a single generation since the time the Qur'an was revealed, except that there were memorizers of the entire book. Today, more than 100 million Muslims are memorizers of all 600 pages of the Qur'an worldwide. And typically, much of the memorizers are completely unfamiliar with the Arabic language.
Can you memorize one page in a language you don't understand? If I were to give you, if you don't speak Japanese, I gave you a page of Japanese. Could you memorize that page in 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 50 minutes? How about memorizing 600 pages in a language you don't even understand, without a single mistake? Haraka, sukoon, word for word, letter for letter.
Allah has made the memorization of the Qur'an easy, and indeed, this is one of the many miracles of the Qur'an. In fact, no other religious tradition memorizes its book or scriptures in its totality.
It was a program for 2 months. A 2-month program.
2 months.
To memorize it, yeah. And you memorize 10 pages a day. And they produce thousands and thousands of Ḥuffāẓ. I think.
Alright, so here this person mentions Ḥuffāẓ, which means a person who has completed the memorization of the Qur'an. This is the Arabic term that we use with that person. And he will also mention juz, which you might not know. It means actually a portion, a part of the Qur'an. The Qur'an has been divided into 30 equal parts, that is known as, each one is called juz in Arabic, or maybe it's called para in the subcontinent, like in Urdu. Regardless of what it is, what you call it, but it is a portion, a part of roughly 20 pages. So in total you have 600 pages, so it's divided into 30 equal portions. So this is what he will refer to in later portion of the video, and this is what he meant by Ḥuffāẓ, which means someone who has completed the Qur'an, who has completed the memorization of the Qur'an.
It was between like 20 to 30,000 Ḥuffāẓ through these programs. You know, it was hard in the beginning. So in the beginning, I remember I memorized like 4 pages the entire day. It was difficult, but then it's amazing. By the end of the 2 months, we were like, or myself, I was memorizing like a juz'u a day.
There are many other ways the Qur'an is given attention on a daily basis. It is an important part of being a Muslim to maintain a healthy relationship with the Qur'an, so as a result, Muslims read it frequently. Additionally, millions of Muslims pray extra voluntary units of prayer throughout the day. After all, it is a source of blessing and tranquility. Every day, Muslims and non-Muslims listen to Qur'an recitations by famous reciters due to its great impact on the heart. This was covered in episode 1. And every year, many millions more make it a point to read the whole Qur'an in the holy month of Ramadan. The amazing part is that once Muslims read the Qur'an, they go right back to the start and read it again and again, year in, year out, and it never gets boring. Could you imagine yourself reading your favourite book over and over, never mind twice in the same year? Think about this. Around the entire world, there is not a single point in the day that the Qur'an is not being recited, whether in prayer or not. What book comes close to that? Muslims can proudly and confidently say that the Qur'an is a miracle and the truth. It is like no other book and is by far the most popular text of all time. If you are a Muslim and have noticed you don't read the Qur'an enough, try and read even just one verse every day, or listen to just a minute of a recitation before you sleep. Be consistent and it will change your life. The Qur'an was revealed during the age of literature and poetry 1400 years ago. Now, we live in the age of science and technology. In the Qur'an, there are more than 6,000 signs, out of which over 1,000 speak about science. Today, the Qur'an remains unchallenged and is by far the best Arabic literature to date. This is great, but with the rapid progression of science and technology, can we say the Qur'an has stood the test of time, or has it become a tale of the past? Allah speaks about the field of astronomy. The Big Bang states that the universe originated from a single point and expanded into the stars and galaxies we know today. Way before this theory, the Qur'an says, "Have those who disbelieved not considered that the heavens and the earth were joined together as one entity, then we separated them?" Similarly, the expansion of the universe can also be found in the Qur'an, along with all celestial bodies in orbit and planets alternating night and day.
Alright, so the verse he mentions is mentioned here in Surah Al-Anbiya chapter 21 verse number 30, where Allah says, have not those who disbelieve known that the heavens and the earth were joined together as one united piece, then we parted them, and we have made from water every living thing. Will they not then believe? And then he mentions this verse, and it is he who created the night and the day. It is he who created the night and the day, the sun and the moon. All heavenly bodies in an orbit are swimming, each in an orbit floating.
What's amazing is if we take the words in the verse used for all celestial bodies in orbit and split them into their individual letters, they mirror each other and appear as if they are in orbit. Science has found that the solar system is not stationary, but is in fact moving towards a fixed point known as the solar apex. Science also tells us that the sun's fuel will eventually run out, causing it to die. The Qur'an captures both these points in one verse, and more specifically, one single word. Without the atmosphere.
So here he is referring to this verse, وَالشَّمْسُ تَجْرِي لِمُسْتَقَرٍّ لِهَا ذَلِكَ تَقْدِيرُ الْعَزِيزُ الْعَلِيمُ. And the sun runs on a course towards its stopping point, and the sun runs on its fixed course for a time appointment. That is the determination of the exalted and might, the knowing, referring to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the decree of the Almighty, the knowing. And then he will mention this verse, and we made the sky a projected ceiling, but they from its signs are turning away. The signs present in the heavens, and we have made the heaven a roof, safe and well guarded, yet they turn away from its signs, sun, moon, winds, cloud, etc. وَجَعَلْنَا السَّمَاءَ سَقْفًا مَحْفُوظًا وَهُمْ عَنْ آيَاتِهَا مُعْرِضُونَ.
Without the atmosphere, life on Earth would not be possible. It shields us from tons of small meteorites showering the Earth every single day, and it filters out harmful radiation that would otherwise cause severe genetic damage. Saying that, the Qur'an refers to the sky as a protected ceiling. Allah speaks about the field of oceanology. Specifically, Allah talks about two seas that meet, one fresh and sweet, and one salty and bitter, and between them is a barrier. William Hay, a famous marine scientist, explained that these two seas have varying temperature, density, and salinity. When water from one sea passes to the other, it becomes homogenized, resulting in what the Qur'an refers to as the forbidding barrier.
Okay, so he's referring to this verse in Surah Al-Furqan, chapter 25, verse 53. And it is He who has created simultaneously the two seas, bodies of water, and it is He who has let free the two seas, two kinds of water. This is palatable and sweet, one fresh and sweet and one salty and bitter, and He has placed between them a barrier and prohibiting partition, and He has set a barrier and a complete partition between them. And then now he will discuss about this verse in Surah An-Nur, chapter 24, verse 40. Or are they like darknesses within an unfathomable sea, which is covered by waves, upon which are waves, over which are clouds, darknesses, some of them upon others. When one puts out his hand therein, he can hardly see it, and he to whom Allah has not granted light, for him there is no light. Or the state of a disbeliever is like the darkness in a Allah is comparing the state of disbeliever with the darknesses in a vast deep sea, overwhelmed with waves, toppled by dark clouds, layers of darkness upon darkness. If a man stretches out his hand, he can hardly see it, and he for whom Allah has not appointed light, for him there is no light.
The Qur'an talks about the darkness in the depths of vast, deep oceans, where if a man stretches out his hand, he can hardly see it. Without modern equipment, the deepest a human can dive is about 20 meters. Only after 200 meters is sunlight absorbed rapidly, and the Qur'an said this way before any equipment 1400 years ago. Allah speaks about the field of geology. Frank Press, a famous geophysicist, highlighted the importance of mountains in stabilizing the Earth's crust from shaking. The Qur'an specifically mentions this.
Okay, so he's referring to this verse, and we placed within the earth firmly set mountains, lest it should shift with them, and we made therein mountain passes as roads, that they might be guided. And we've placed on the earth firm mountains, lest it should shake with them, and we place therein broad highways for them to pass through, that they may be guided. And then we will discuss about this ayah. Have we not made the, Allah is saying, have we not made the earth a resting place? And if you're wondering why Allah uses we have already mentioned in our previous video, so check them out. And Allah says, and the mountains as stakes, as pegs. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used, to stabilize the land and balance the earth, and the mountains as stakes or pegs.
Thanks to modern technology, we have found that mountains are typically much deeper than they are high. Think of tent pegs. They are pushed deep into the ground to stop the tent from flying away, and you only see a small part of it on the outside. Amazingly, the Qur'an refers to mountains as pegs. Allah speaks about the field of biology. In just a few lines, the Qur'an gives a description of how the human is formed, which science has proved is in the correct chronological order. Particularly, Allah describes the embryo using the word ʻalaqah, which has three separate meanings when translated. 1. A blood clot, 2. Something that clings, and 3. A leech. The first two meanings, without a doubt, resemble the embryo accurately, but a leech? Here is an image of an embryo next to a leech. Here is an X-ray of an embryo next to the internal structure of a leech. And here are microscopic images of the head of an embryo and the back end of a leech. To top this off, these verses end with Allah saying, "We brought it forth as another creation." With great advancements in science, we now know that the initial stages of development in many animals are strikingly similar.
So here we're talking about this verse in Surah Al-Mu'minun, chapter 23, verse number 12. وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِّن طِينٍ. And indeed we created man, talking about Adam, the very first man Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created, and we are the children, we're descendants of him, out of an extract of clay, water and earth. Then he placed him as a sperm drop, as a zygote. Okay, and in a firm lodging, referring to the womb. Thereafter, we made him, the offspring of Adam, as a nutfah, which mixed drops of male and female sexual discharge, and lodged it in a safe place, which is womb of the woman. Then we made the sperm drop into a clinging clot. ثم خلقنا النطفة ثم جعلناه نطفة في قرار مكين ثم خلقنا النطفة علقة. Then we created the nutfah into ʻalaqah. What is ʻalaqah? And we made the clot into a lump of flesh. Then Allah says فخلقنا العلقة, and then we created the ʻalaqah mudghah, an embryonic lump. We made from lump, and we made the clot into a lump, and we made from the lump bones. فخلقنا المضغة عظاما فكسونا العظام لحما. And we covered the bones with flesh. ثم أنشأناه خلقا آخر. Every description matches. Then we developed him into another creation. فَتَبَارَكَ اللَّهُ أَحْسَنُ الْخَالِقِينَ. So blessed be Allah, the best of all creators, the best of creators, the most skillful and the only true creator. Then we made the nutfah into a clot, a piece of thick coagulated blood. Then we made the clot into a little lump of flesh. Then we made out of that little lump of flesh bones. Then we clothed the bones with flesh, and then we brought it forth as another creation. So blessed is Allah, the best of creators. And then it is also mentioned in Surah Al-Hajj, chapter 22, verse number 5. Allah says, O mankind, if you are in doubt about the resurrection, then verily we have created you, i.e. Adam, from dust, then from a nutfah mixed. This is the definition of the nutfah, which refers to the offspring of Adam. Then from a clot, which is a piece of thick coagulated blood. Then from a little lump of flesh, some formed and some unformed, as in the case of miscarriage. And we may make it clear to you, i.e. to show you our ability and power to do what we will, and that we may make it clear to you, and we cause whom we will to remain in the wombs for an appointed term, and we bring you as an infant. Then we give you growth, that you may reach your age of full strength. And among you is he who dies young, and among you there is he who is brought back to the miserable old age, so that he knows nothing after having known. And you see the earth barren, but when we send down water, rain on it, it is stirred to life, and it swells and puts forth every lovely kind of growth. Subhanallah. And then in the video we will discuss about this thing where Allah says, and that he, Allah, created the pairs, male and female, from nutfah, is the definition we have just viewed when it is emitted in Surah An-Najm, verse 53.
Today, science has shown that gender is determined by a pair of sex chromosomes where XX is for females and XY is for males. It is the sperm that carries the genetic information for X or Y, whilst the female egg can only carry X, and the Qur'an specifically summarizes this. In the Qur'an, Allah says that every living thing has been made from water. Because of the cytoplasm in cells, 70% of the human body is made up of water. Consider this. Allah mentions that He created all pairs, but amazingly, He says from that which they do not know. Only recently we are discovering more of nature is found in pairs, as Allah says.
Alright, so we were discussing Surah Yasin, chapter 36, verse number 36, where Allah says, "Exalted is He who created all spheres or all species from what the earth grows and from themselves and from that which they do not know. Glory be to Him who created all pairs of that which the earth produces, as well as of their own humankind, male and female, and of that which they know not." Then we will discuss this verse, this Surah Al-An'am, chapter 6, verse number 38, "And there is no creature on or within the earth, or bird that flies with its wings, except that they are communities like you. We have not neglected in the register," referring to the preserved slate, al-Mahfūz, in which all things are recorded. And I have discussed that in my Reciting the Qur'an series in the second part 2 of that video. And we have recorded all things we have not neglected in the register a thing. Then unto their Lord they will be gathered. There is not a moving or a living creature on earth, nor a bird that flies with its 2 wings, but are communities like you. We have neglected nothing in the book. Then unto their Lord they all shall be gathered.
The Qur'an states that every living thing, whether on the earth, in the earth, or in the sky, is found in communities. As you know, there are thousands of documentaries that are widely available that show just how fascinating animals are in their communities. In the Qur'an, Allah quotes a conversation between ants. In these verses, they tell each other to hide so that they aren't crushed by the people walking by. For centuries, people mocked these verses, calling them a fairy tale in which ants speak to each other. We now know that ants are a lot more similar to humans than most animals. For example, they bury their dead, they have marketplaces where they exchange goods, and they occasionally meet for a chat. They have advanced communication methods, and in the workplace, they have sophisticated division of labour from managers to supervisors to workers.
Okay, so now we're talking about this ayah, Surah An-Naml, chapter 27, verse number 17, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "And gathered for Solomon were his soldiers of the jinn and man and birds, and they were marching in rows, and they were gathered before Sulaiman, his hosts of jinn and men and birds. They were all set in battle order, marching forward, until when they came upon the valley of the ants, and one of the ants said, 'O ants, enter your dwellings, that you not be crushed by Solomon, lest Solomon and his horse should crush you while they perceive not.'" And now we will talk about bee, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Nahl, chapter 16, verse 68, "And your Lord inspired to the bee, take for yourself among the mountains houses," i.e. hives, "and among the trees, and in that which they construct. And your Lord inspired the bees, saying, take you habitations in the mountains, and in the trees, and in what they erect. Then eat from all the fruits, i.e. delicious substance found by the bee, and follow the ways of your Lord laid down for you. There emerges from their bellies a drink varying in colors, in which there is healing for people. Indeed, in that is a sign for a people who give thought. Then eat of all fruits, and follow the ways of your Lord made easy for you. There comes forth from their bellies a drink of varying color, wherein is healing for men. Verily, in this is indeed a sign for people who think."
In just 2 verses, Allah tells us many things about the bee. Worker bees that gather pollen and make the honey are actually females. Male bees do not make honey. In these verses, the verbs used for worker bees are female. In these same verses, Allah tells us that honey comes from the belly of the bee, which science has confirmed. Additionally, the word used for belly is plural, meaning more than one. Science now tells us that bees have 2 stomachs. Again, in these verses, Allah tells us that honey is a healing for the people. Today, we now know that honey has medicinal and antiseptic properties. These are such subtle details but have proven 100% accurate. And to conclude, Allah ends these verses by saying, "Indeed, in that is a sign for people who think."
إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يتفكرون. Indeed, in that are signs, are ayat for people who reflect, who think. Allah is giving us a chance to come to the truth, to come to His path. And as you have just heard, Allah talks about the bee. ثم كلي من كل ثمرات فاسلكي سبل ربك يخرج من بطونها. See, bellies, plural, Allah mentioned. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions نحلي أن اتخذي من الجبال بيوتا ومن الشجرة ومن الشجر ومما. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the female bee, and here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the plural بطونها, not button, which is belly. بطونها, their bellies. بطون. Okay?
Indeed, in that is a sign for people who think. It is important to note that the Qur'an is not a book of science. It is a book of signs for people to contemplate and to make an intellectual decision. Saying that, not a single scientific sign in the Qur'an can be proved wrong by established science. What's fascinating is that the Qur'an was recited by a man who could not read or write over 23 years in jumbled up order. Despite all of this, the Qur'an contains zero contradictions and has strikingly accurate statements that we have only come to know so many years later.
So this is just a glimpse, actually, a drop in the vast ocean, and it is not possible for us to discuss such topic at length in this very short video. Such topic requires hours of studies and research. So if you are interested, maybe we will make a specific topic more detailed on that. If you are interested, let us know in the comments below if you are indeed interested or not. But for those who are eager and who still possess that passion, that is very good for you. I'm very happy, and because you benefit yourself, not because I have any personal gain. But if you are really still interested to know more, this was just some a drop in the vast ocean. I highly recommend that you check these books, okay, which will give you more detailed explanation. This one is of 81 pages. The Qur'an and Modern Science, Compatible or Incompatible, by Dr. Zakir Naik. And here we have more detailed explanation regarding even things that was not mentioned. We didn't mention about the water cycle. We mentioned some of them. We included some of them and eliminated some. We included some things only as just very summary way, but details is here. Feel free to read that. The creation of Big Bang, the spherical shape we didn't mention, and the light of the moon is also reflected light. This is also mentioned in the Quran. The sun rotates. The sun will extinguish after a certain period. We have covered the expanding universe, the presence of interstellar matter in physics, the existence of subatomic particles, the water cycle. And in the field of geology, we have mentioned mountains are like a bag. Winds impregate the clouds. We didn't mention that. We have it's like uncountable evidences. You cannot deny the truth. We have mentioned this a little bit. Darkness, we have mentioned. Every living thing is made of food. In botany, we have fruits made in pairs. Animals live in communities. The bee, we didn't mention spiders' web. And lifestyle and communication of ants, we mentioned how honey has a healing property. Okay, so in there are different things: blood circulation and production of milk. We didn't mention. Man is created from alaq. We mentioned some of it, and this, there are so many things that we couldn't. The pain receptors. This is also one of the really like undeniable and really moving and reflecting sign from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there was a doctor when he found out, when he was the one, it's mentioned here, Professor Tejasan was so impressed scientific accuracy of the Qur'an. Saudi Medical Conference in Riyadh, he just accepted Islam straight away. When he found out, he was the one to I think invent this thing. Has spent a great deal of research on pain research. Initially, he couldn't believe that Quran mentioned. I highly recommend that you read this book. And also, so I highly recommend that you watch these lectures. You will find in the channel of Dr. Zakir Naik, Quran in Modern Science, this playlist you have, and Quran in Modern Science, compatible or incompatible. I think there is this full lecture which you can watch for 2 hours, and you will get even more in-depth analysis. Of course, in a short video like this, we couldn't speak all topics at length, but looking and researching and seeing and viewing these things would, inshallah, give you even more better comprehensive idea. Apart from that, I also have this material which will enable you to study and properly about this topic. And finally, this book, A Brief Illustrated Guide to Understand Islam, is about 80 pages, where you will also find evidences for the truth of Islam, some benefits of Islam, and general information what it is, and some basic knowledge of the Islam. You have it in the book. I'll leave the links to all of these materials in the description, so you can download the PDF of these books, and you can also get the link to the videos that I just mentioned. So please feel free to check them out. If you have any question, you're most welcome to ask me. And this is the end for this video. I hope to see you in the next one. Salam.